All right. I guess we're live. Um, didn't get quite everything I wanted to prepped this morning, and there was a part that I couldn't find, but hey, that's all right. We'll make it work. We will make it work. So, let's see. All right. So, good morning. This is the Practical IT Live Sunday stream. Today we've got a few things on the agenda. May not get all of the demos I had hoped to do, but we will take a stab at some things, and if the one in particular I don't get to today, then it will definitely happen either as a separate video during the week or as part of next Sunday's live stream. So, good morning, David. So I think part of the reason I can't find this particular item is because of my mad dash last night to finish rearranging the office/studio, and while everything has come back together pretty nicely, and I think I'm liking this new layout at the moment, I've still got some stuff behind the green screen I've got to clean up, but overall I'm pretty happy with the way things turned out. But I wanted to do a demo of the new version of the Raspberry Pi Imager software because they added a new feature that we'll talk about in the news section, but I can't find my card reader. So I'm not sure where I stuck it. I thought I had it in my laptop bag, and I couldn't find it in there. It's probably hiding in a pocket I didn't look in or something, but the show must go on. So, all right. Well, get going with news. So I've done things a little bit differently this week for news. And I'll talk about the new methodology a little later, but I've got a few more news items than I normally have. So just to real quick go through these, Apache Open Meeting 6.0 has been released. And among the new features, recordings can be globally disabled. It's got a new whiteboard or enhanced whiteboard, more user and room management, an integrated calendar, and a polling and voting feature. I apparently have completely missed Apache Open Meetings because I didn't know that it was even a thing before I saw this news item. There's a new release candidate for Manjaro 21 out. So if you're a Manjaro user, that would be worth testing, at least in a VM. NVIDIA has released the 460.67 drivers with better support for Linux kernel 5.11. And you'll see why that's important in a moment. GNOME 40 release candidate is available ahead of the March 24th release date. Ubuntu 21.04 Hirsute Hippo is now powered by Linux kernel 5.11. So NVIDIA is at least paying a little bit of attention to what's going on with the Ubuntu release cycle. There was an article on Endless SH. I guess that's how you want to say that. And basically, it's an SSH tar pit that very slowly sends an endless random SSH banner. It keeps SSH clients locked up for hours or even days at a time. And so this exploits part of the RFC for the SSH specification. And this is mainly going to keep script kiddies that are using automated scripts kind of stuck, like a dinosaur in a tar pit, unless they exit out of their script and manually and get things moving there. There's an article on xmodulo.com about getting started with Vagrant on Linux. So Vagrant is kind of a neat DevOps tool if you're not familiar with it, and it allows you to set up reproducible virtual machines very quickly, mainly a command line utility, but it's very neat, especially when you think about pairing it with something like Ansible. So the power of the two together is just, it's insane. The Vivaldi 3.7 browser has been released. Another big open source release of this week was Audacity 3.0, and this is the version that got the new project format, where previous versions had an issue with if you moved source files after you created the project, things would get out of sync and could create problems. And this version addresses that particular use case. There was an article about configuring static IPs in Ubuntu. And it talks about Ubuntu starting with version 17.10 has used NetPlan as a default network management tool. NetPlan is a tool developed by Canonical. It uses a YAML-based config file. This is mostly used on desktop machines, whereas systemd-networkd is used on servers. Also, Telegram desktop version 2.7 has been released, available for all the normal desktop and mobile operating systems, including Linux. And finally, the Raspberry Pi Imager now lets you control advanced OS features when flashing images. So, since I can't really do a live demo of this, we can go over to hopefully the source article, and that was here on 9 to 5 Linux. And let me get this shared on screen. Let's see. And so the big, and of course there we go. The big feature in this version is that it's got a hidden advanced options panel. And you can access this by with using the shortcut Control-Shift-X. There is no graphical shortcut for getting to this. You have to use the keyboard shortcut, which is probably not a bad thing for preventing people that don't know what they're doing from messing with this. But as you can see, It allows you to set various settings. You can either do it for the current session or save the settings. So things like enabling and setting the host name, SSH with a password set. You can set up your Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi country, locale settings, keyboard layout, and those are the big things. So very useful pieces that previously required some command line foo to make this all work. So let's remove that. All right. When I upgraded my office studio the last time, I lost things for weeks. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one that has a tendency to do that. Let's see. As I was setting up for work on my new studio later today, I found some of what I was missing hid behind some books on the top shelf over my networks rack. Great. Have you tried OBS on Ubuntu? I want to set that up soon so I can test some webcams and capture devices. Yes, actually, I have tried OBS on Ubuntu, on Mint, and seems like I tried it on CentOS as well, once upon a time. It works pretty much the same way it does in Windows or Mac OS or anywhere else. It's the big difference that I found was going from platform to platform. There are some plugins that are only available for instance, Windows and Mac OS, and there's a smaller subset that are only available for Windows. Which isn't the end of the world, because there are some things that are only on Linux. So one of the things that I've been looking at for quite a while now is moving my studio, my production work for the videos off from Mac OS, since my Mac Mini is technically off the supported list for getting new major OS updates from Apple, moving it to an Ubuntu box. And just so happens that I found a steal on a used Dell Optiplex earlier this week. And so that should be arriving, I believe, on Thursday. And I've already got an SSD for it. Unfortunately, not an M.2. It's just a SATA SSD. But the jump from a third or fourth generation i-series chip to a sixth generation is going to be a pretty decent step up for me. And so I don't know as though I will be completely switched over for next week's live stream, but I am going to start down the path of using the recorded videos, even if in the short term I continue recording from the Mac just because of the way things are currently set up. It's the other thing that I've got to do with the Optiplex is I've got to get more RAM for it, and I don't happen to have any DDR4 RAM just lying around here, so that's going to be another purchase. This particular machine can be maxed out at 64 gigs, so The rest of my machines have a max of 16 right now, so I'm looking forward to having a little bit beefier specs when it comes to RAM, and knowing that it's DDR4, it's got some reuse options. If I don't stick with this particular Dell Optiplex long term, I can part it out a little bit and resell it. So incremental improvements, I guess, is the way I'm going with things. I also ordered this week an inline mic preamp. So it's supposed to add 28 decibels of gain without having to turn up the gain on my interface, and that should help out with some noise issues that I've been noticing for the recorded videos, which is one of the reasons I haven't been doing a lot of those lately. I really want to get this audio sorted out, and then start really pushing forward hard. I've got a few videos that I've got recorded and just need to edit down. I've got many ideas for other videos, and we'll see what happens there. But I'm excited about getting this inline preamp for the microphone, because with XLR mics, if you're using a dynamic mic, generally the rule of thumb is that you do not use phantom power. But with my particular setup currently, I've got to turn the gain up on my interface to about 95% in order to get a decent volume for recording. And it does add noise to the audio track. So from all the reviews I read and from talking to a few people that I know about this particular solution, it should take care of a lot of my issue. And then, someday when I'm a little more flush with cash and can purchase the pinnacle of broadcast mics, or at least a very popular one among YouTubers, the Shure SM7B, which has a $400 price tag on it, I will be ready for it, because that mic basically is unusable without a preamp inline. So I'm again taking some steps to get things where I want to go with that. All right. So let's see. One of the things that I wanted to talk about today, before we get into the big topic of IPFire, one of the things I wanted to talk about was Raven Reader. And so with my increasingly crazy schedule lately, I've been looking for ways to streamline things a little bit. And so I decided to revisit RSS readers, which I've had sort of an on and off again relationship with over the last 15 plus years. But I found one that right now I'm pretty content using, called Raven Reader. And I was able to take this and add the feeds in that, I would normally look at on a daily or 3 times a week basis to gather news articles for the Sunday live stream. And I've been able to simplify it down into a list. It tells me how many new news stories there are. I can select one. I can read the little synopsis, and then I can view the original if I want. And then once I've read it, I can mark it as read, and it takes it out of my main list. And then I can, go through this rather quickly and take out things that I don't necessarily want to read or don't necessarily want to talk about on a Sunday live stream. And it's made things a lot quicker for me. This is the first week that I've really pushed myself to use this, and I kind of like the direction that it's going. I like the time that it saved me for sure. And so, yeah, I just wanted to throw this out there. This is a Electron app. It does run on Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. People have a love-hate relationship with Electron apps because they're not really native apps. It's more of a wrapper around a web app. But for this particular type of app, I'm okay with this. And it looks nicer to me than some of the quote-unquote native apps that I have looked at so far. So that was what I wanted to say about Raven Reader. It's a pretty interesting reader for that. All right. So what else do we have? Comments. I have a Pile audio mixer that I received for Christmas that I have not used yet. Will start to when I finally go live after my new studio is done. All right. I'll be interested in hearing how that goes. Do you have an XLR mic for it yet? And if you do, are you going with a dynamic mic or a condenser mic? So I'm just curious what your approach might be to this, and how it might differ slightly from the way I've started down this path. So it's always interesting to see find out how other YouTubers do these things. All right, so I am going to take myself off the screen one more time, and I'm going to turn down this light above me just a little bit. All right, so the bigger topic of today, I wanted to talk about IPFire. Got this set up in VirtualBox, and just so people have an idea of how I've got this set up, if you're not familiar, IPFire is a router/firewall distribution based on the Linux kernel, as opposed to something like pfSense, which is actually based on the BSD kernel and FreeBSD system as a whole. So I've got 2 network cards in this. 2 virtual NICs. The first one is a bridged adapter, so that would be the WAN port on the virtual router. And the second one is set to an internal network. And I've named the internal network DemoNet just for the sake of giving it a name. And so if we go ahead and start up IPFire, yeah, it shows a flaming penguin. And yeah, I didn't mention it's got two processors or two processor cores dedicated to it. I found it to be a little sluggish with just one, so I bumped it a little bit. And once this gets started up, then I will boot my Ubuntu test box or test VM rather, and we can go in and look at the interface. I will say that this is not or does not appear to be on the surface as full featured as pfSense. That's not necessarily a bad thing, especially when you're doing virtual labs and setting things up here. But, you know, it's one of those your mileage may vary type of situations. I decided yesterday to take another look at IPFire after, you know, it's probably been years since I've looked at it. After watching a video that somebody was using the x86-64 distribution of I'm drawing a blank now. OpenWRT in a VM, and OpenWRT is a derivative of the firmware that came with the original Linksys. What was it? The WRT54G. I hope I'm remembering that model number correctly. And so at the time, Linksys built this firmware using largely open source components. And I don't remember the whole saga of what happened, but I believe there was some sort of either a lawsuit or a letter from certain open source groups stating that Linksys was in violation of the way this was being distributed because they weren't including a copy of the GPL license and all that good stuff, which they need to do to be in compliance. So, you know, it ended up that the source code was made public and people started improving on it. And then you had projects like OpenWRT and DDWRT, and there were others available at different times. And people had put different customizations into it. And you can now flash your, you know, consumer grade router with an aftermarket firmware that you know, takes a $50 router and, you know, gives it some of the features of more enterprise systems. Hopefully That looks better. All right, so when you first go into IPFire, you get this main page interface. You know, it does have quite a few options. Not like I said, not everything that's available in pfSense is available here in IPFire. But, you know, again, if you're doing virtual labs and you just need a basic router VM or firewall VM, or you're doing something like, you know, playing with firewall rules for purposes of learning how to configure things, you know, this is not a bad place to go. Again, you can do the same thing with OpenWRT, although since OpenWRT does not make an ISO image available, there are additional steps that you would have to go through in order to make a VDI or a VMDK image, disk image that you can use with VirtualBox or Proxmox or what have you. So there are, you know, again, plenty of interesting options in here. Quality of service starts off turned off. As you can see here, I have done very little configuration on this at this point in time. Firewall rules. Again, you can add rules if you'd like. And again, you get source, NAT, destination, and protocol. One thing that's interesting about IPFire is that they do use this rather unique color coding system for the different interfaces. So in this case, I've just got the two network interfaces on this machine, and internet or WAN is red. Your local network is green. And they have 3 or 4 other colors for different things like a demilitarized zone or DMZ, and, you know, different things like that. And VPN will get its own color as well. So, you know, it's an interesting little distribution, firewall distribution of Linux. You know, there are other add-ons that you can bring to the table here. So, you know, I've done, well, there are no updates because this was just a very recent release. But there are different things. Bacula is a backup software. What else do we have here? CIFS utilities for file sharing. CUPS filters is for printing. Epson inkjet printer. You've got all kinds of different things in here. Netcat, different network utilities. You've got the iPerf suites. So we can just hit the plus, and that should install these. And we'll see what that does. So I'm not sure if they have their own package management system, this IPFire, or if it's something different or a wrapper around an existing package manager. But there's all kinds of different libraries on here. There's Nagios for network monitoring, NFS, all kinds of add-ons for Perl and Python. And, there's Samba, again, for file sharing. All kinds of different things on here. Spectre Meltdown Checker, so checking for CPU vulnerabilities. So yeah, it's an interesting little firewall distribution. You could also set whether you want to be in the stable repository, the testing, or the unstable. Again, if you're using this in a lab environment, a virtual lab environment, you can clone the firewall and play with it on different repository settings, just so you can get a feel for what some of the upcoming features are for the distribution. Again, it's got intrusion prevention. I believe using Squid. Location block, so geolocation type blocking. Once this loads up, so you can block traffic by country. So for instance, if you're doing a virtual lab of any variety, and you're going to be the only one accessing it, then you may very well want to just block every country other than the US. And where this might bite you is for updates. But again, this is something that is worth playing with and learning about, and just kind of trying something different, and seeing where this might be useful for you. So as you can see, it's already starting in on dropping some input from my local network coming into this, and that's all right. Again, this is just a pretty fresh install of IPFire, and I haven't done a lot with configuration. So let's see. I mentioned OpenWRT. And if you search OpenWRT VirtualBox, then you will be able to jump right to the OpenWRT website, if that's something you're interested in trying out. and it walks you through the process. So you'll be downloading an IMG or image file. It'll be zipped. You've got to unzip it. You've got to convert it to a virtual hard drive, either a VHD, a VDI, or a VMDK for use in VirtualBox, and then add it to a virtual machine. The nice thing is that they do walk you through the steps in a pretty detailed type of way. They are still referencing VirtualBox 5.1.8, and the current version of VirtualBox is 6.1.18. So they're a little behind the curve there on getting their screenshots updated. But at the same time, if you can follow directions and, adjust using the context of any discrepancy images, you can probably get through this without any real issue. So let's see. And again, IPFire.org. And this is where you can download IPFire and find out about the different features that are available. They do also have documentation on here, which seems to be pretty decent in the form of a wiki. They've got a forum where you can ask other people using IPFire questions, and then they've got a chat as well. And of course, it begs the question. A lot of people are going to be comparing it to what's considered by many the gold standard of open source firewalls. And, you can always look up IPFire versus pfSense. And, read what different people have to say. Another contender worth consideration is OpenSense, which was a fork of pfSense. Some people tend to like it better. Some people don't. In either case, pfSense and OpenSense are both available on pre-configured appliance type devices, physical hardware devices. I am not sure that IPFire is available on such a device. That may still be more of a do-it-yourself type of situation where, you have to acquire the device and then flash the firmware onto the device and do the configuration. But, it's, again, worth consideration. If I hadn't bought into the Unify ecosystem a few years back, I would probably be investing in a pfSense or OpenSense firewall appliance. My whole thought when I went into Unify was separating the hardware components The way it was when I started in working with Wi-Fi, separating the components so you have separate access points that are not integrated with the router. And there are many advantages of doing this. A prime advantage being that when a new Wi-Fi standard comes out, all you have to do is upgrade the access point and not the whole router to get to the next Wi-Fi standard. So, for instance, my current access points are Wi-Fi 5 or 802.11 AC. The current Wi-Fi standard is Wi-Fi 6 or 802.11ax. And, I could very easily just buy one at a time, some AX / Wi-Fi 6 access points, and be able to upgrade my Wi-Fi network. Now, I don't have a lot of incentive to do so right at the moment because I do not have any devices that I take that back. I do have one AX device at the moment. Is it enough to justify me bumping up the access points to AX? No, not yet. So that's that, I guess. All right, so enough of my little rant. I'll get off my soapbox for a moment. Are there questions, comments, suggestions of other open source router distributions to look at or review or anything like that? Looks like we've got 4 people watching. Hello, everybody. If you haven't joined already, jump into the live chat, ask some questions. We're working on building a community around this channel, and it's people like you that will help do that. I can't build a community on my own. I do need help from others in order to pull this off. So, and for anybody watching, if you haven't done so already, please take a moment and like and subscribe to the channel, and help me keep this content coming, and making it worthwhile for everybody, hopefully. All right. So, let's go ahead and jump out of this, close the tabs. Thank you, David, for the like. So this week has kind of been a big spending week for me. Between the Optiplex I'm getting off from eBay, the Dynamite DM1 from SE Electronics, which is the inline preamp for my mic. And then I also ordered an office chair on Monday, which unfortunately doesn't ship until June. I did order it from Secret Lab. It's technically a gaming chair, but my buddy down in Illinois has one, and it's decently comfortable. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on getting one for myself. Because this particular chair that I'm sitting in right now is about 14 years old. And it's just getting more difficult to sit in for long periods of time for video editing and live streaming and the like. And it was just time. So hopefully, by the middle of June, I will have the new office chair. I'll have the audio issues sorted, and I can continue tweaking the excuse me, the lighting in here, which I think I'm getting pretty decent. I just don't like the glare off the top of my bald head right now. But that's little things. Maybe I'll have to invest in some powder like they use in commercials and stuff, and use that to absorb some of the glare and things from the lighting above my head. I can dim this ring light a little bit more, but the goal is to try to keep this looking as natural as possible, and I feel like I'm looking a little pale and washed out at the moment. So, yeah, I guess that's the status of things there. I'm still in awe. The channel is continuing to grow, and it's just. I'm still a little in shock over how much it has grown in the last year. So, let's see. As of this morning, I'm at 2,176 subscribers to the channel, and it's it's just amazing to me. I don't know nearly that many people in real life, and just the comments that I've got from people all over the world, especially on the fog videos. People have just been eating that up. It's just been nothing short of amazing. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I just keep plugging away at this a little bit at a time and making some incremental improvements. I really believe most YouTubers are doing something similar, and it's going to get there, and I'm just happy with the progress so far. All right, so I guess one final topic. I didn't actually have it on my master list of things to go over today, but I've noticed recently that I've had, I think, 2 or 3 different people ask me about building a video or series of videos that covers the full building of a Windows image that can be deployed, running it through sysprep and capturing the image with fog, and then being able to deploy it, and then run scripts against it after it's deployed. And so I just wanted to address this a little bit here because, you know, this is a something I'm seeing more often lately. And in all honesty, I really don't have the properly licensed Windows versions to be able to do this completely legally, from my understanding of the licensing around Windows. Now, I'm not sure as a creator if that gets me any leeway, but I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on television, so I really don't want to take any chances. So the guide that I used the last time I was in a job where I had to do this procedure was the itbros.com. And this walks you through the sysprep step-by-step, as it says, step-by-step guide. And you know, this was a really valuable resource for me the last time I had to do this. So, and it goes through some of the advantages and disadvantages of using sysprep and all this kind of stuff. So, this is the resource that I've been pointing people to when they ask me about this particular topic. You know, if sometime in the future I have the money coming in from YouTube that allows me to expand and do something like this, I will absolutely do it. At the current moment, though, that is not the case. So the best I really feel that I can do is pass on information to people. All right. I'll see you later, David. Thanks for coming in, and I'll be watching my updates for new videos on your channel. All right. So, yeah. If I get to the point in time where I have the resources, the monetary resources coming in from YouTube to allow me to do something like this and do it right, I will absolutely consider doing it. Until that point comes, this channel is going to continue to be primarily focused on Linux and open source resources. And FOG only runs on a Unix or Unix-like operating system, so FreeBSD, Linux, etc. There are probably 101 channels out there doing Windows-related topics like this and walking through the steps of setting up your quote-unquote gold or master image for a Windows deployment. And so, you know, my advice would be that, you know, you go to the Windows people to learn about the Windows side of things. And, you know, where I come in is after this image is already built and sysprepped, you know, the procedure is that you shut down the machine, you reboot it, you boot it from the network, capture an image to FOG, and then you can deploy it out just like all my other FOG examples of deploying computers. either unicast or multicast, to one machine at a time or to multiple machines at a time. Now, I will say that coming from the open source side of things, good morning, Chris. Yes, too many Windows channels already. That's exactly part of my point. One area I do differ from the typical approach on a Windows channel is that I'm a big proponent of things like Chocolatey, which again is a package manager for Windows. Now, the last time I set up a Windows image at a previous job, Chocolatey did not play nice with being preloaded onto the image, and so you had to deploy it out to the images or the machines with something like the Fog client, which should have been included on the master image. So especially if you're using the business or enterprise version of Chocolatey, this can be a huge time saver because you're saving yourself rebuilding these Windows master images at quite the frequency that you would normally. Like after software is updated. I guess just a little bit different point of view and approach than most Windows channels necessarily take to doing this task. Using some of the content from another channel coupled with content from my channel is not going to hurt things in any way. And it might benefit both channels in the long run. All right. Let's see. Regarding Fog, there's a great guide I follow that helps build a perfect sysprep image of Windows, which is very useful. Okay. Use the post-install script function in sysprep to install Chocolatey after sysprep has run after the PC is staged. All right. I've not tried it that way. I think the result I got is very similar. I didn't use the post-install script function in sysprep, but I used I installed the Fog agent as part of the master image, and then I used the functionality in Fog to deploy Chocolatey out to those machines, which I think it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. If the result is the same, I guess your mileage may vary. At the time that I did it, it worked fine. Again, I don't have to sysprep Windows machines in my current position, or at least I haven't up to this point. But with such a small number of computers to manage, it right now seems like overkill. If the library ever gets the money together to expand to the second floor and add, additional computers to what we have in the building, then it may very well be something I'll be looking into again. I don't install the fog agent, though it has some cool features if you use fog. Okay. So, yeah. I think both approaches will get you to basically the same point as far as being able to use Chocolatey. Um, I've seen demos of the business or enterprise versions of Chocolatey. I've sat through some of their webinars, and if I had more than a single Windows machine of my own, I would probably get at least the business version, which is relatively affordable, even for an individual. But you get into and I haven't looked at their licensing lately, but you get into their. I know the enterprise version allows you to even create Chocolatey packages for things like Microsoft Office that are specific to your organization. So I'm really a big proponent of Chocolatey. I know that Microsoft is developing their own package manager and getting ready to do a push on that. According to the Chocolatey people, they're going to complement each other and not really be at feature parity anytime soon. So that will be interesting to see how that develops. But I think Microsoft's package manager is still a ways off. But it's nice to see that they're finally getting on the bandwagon that I've been riding on Linux for doggone near 20 years. I think the first couple of years I was on Linux, I either didn't know how to use the package managers, or my dial-up internet was not really conducive to using the package managers. But it's a very interesting feature, and one that I think would benefit Windows users as well, especially power users and administrators, and even like in my situation, I have to manage my father's machines, and I've got the free version of Chocolatey installed on both of his business machines, just to help preserve my sanity when managing his machines. But it becomes a time saver for everybody involved. So I guess that's that on package managers and Chocolatey and some fog stuff, and my little rant on Windows and not really wanting to risk getting myself in trouble with the licensing police. But yeah. So Chris, have you been working on any interesting projects this week, or anything you want to talk about in any detail today? I've really got to get back on the bandwagon to promoting these live streams a little bit more. This has been like 2 weeks in a row now that it's been little on the slow side for people coming in and commenting. And I know there are people watching it, but apparently they're shy and don't want to jump in the live chat. So we are at 12:14 Eastern Time. And it is 58 degrees in Michigan where I'm at. So I'll take it. I will take it. So let's see. What do we got here? Have to upgrade 5 ESXi hosts to 6.7 tomorrow at 3 a.m. Oh my. Good luck. Hopefully that will go off without a hitch, and everything will come back up after the upgrade is installed. I've not used ESXi in a number of years at this point. I did use it for a class when I was teaching, just to get them some exposure to VMware. Yeah. About to rewrite a guide I did about using Restic to back up my Linux machines to Backblaze. Oh, interesting. I would be interested in reading through that if you're making that public. So, if you want to share that, great. If you want to come on the live stream some Sunday and talk about it or demo it, you're more than welcome. Just let me know, and I will send you the link to get into StreamYard. And I'd be happy to have you. So post it to your site. Awesome. So yeah, my project this week at the library is going to be stepping up the search for a new library management system. Apparently vendors don't want to contact people back when you fill out the forms on their website. So I'm going to get on the phone and start calling people and grilling them for answers to questions and start trying to find out if any of the systems out there are at a comparable price to the system we've got now, but potentially more user-friendly and just not as kludgy. Yeah, that's remains to be seen at this point. I'm starting to get the suspicion that we're going to end up staying with the software we've got, and I'm just going to have to start putting in more tickets for enhancements and things, because there's no reason to have to jump through some of the hoops we have to jump through currently. Yeah, I at least would be interested in seeing that. I don't know if other viewers would be, but if you want to give me a shout once you've got that done, and then I can shoot you the details for coming on, and I'll let you talk about it all you want and do a demo and answer any questions, and we can put our heads together about some promotion for the live stream when we know you're going to come on. It's all for the betterment of the community that's starting to form around this channel. Although I wish I could get more people to join these live streams, but that'll come. That'll come. I keep telling myself. But yeah, I'm all for getting more guests on the live stream and you know, inflict less of me rambling on people. So all right. So all right. So one other thing I want to throw out there, and then we can start wrapping this up for the day. Well, thank you, Chris. Yeah, it seems like my fog videos, you know, it's a one topic I keep coming back to over and over again. It just seems like there are a lot of people. I mean, some of the fog videos have over 6,000 views on them. You know, it's a large chunk of views for my overall channel. And so yeah, I'm glad they were helpful. You know, and I tell this to everybody that leaves comments on the fog videos. I'm glad they were helpful. You know, I have to stress that I don't have the solution to every problem that comes up with fog because I'm not the developer. You know, part of the reason that I did the videos was for documentation for myself. And you know, it took on a life of its own after I started putting them out there. And you know, it was really the start of the YouTube channel. Honestly, you know, I had installed it for my previous job, and you know, the videos that were available at the time were all like version 1.2, which was quite an old version at the time. And, you know, so I did a video, and it was the current version at the time, which was 1.3.4, if I remember correctly. And then I've just continued, and, you know, like every fairly major version, I've done a new set of videos on. So, you know, one thing I've been encouraged to do lately is to take my experience with building the videos on fog for YouTube and, you know, rebuild them in such a fashion that I could turn them into a course on Udemy or you know, something like that. And, you know, I've started sketching out a plan for that. But, you know, I'm just kind of at a loss for how to break everything up and, you know, get everything down into, you know, 10-minute chunks, so that people, you know, might be interested in actually buying the content, especially if they find out that I've got fog videos available free on YouTube. You know, now I guess the bonus to somebody purchasing the class on Udemy would be that they wouldn't have the commercials. So, you know, it's something that's crossed my mind. It's something I've been encouraged to do. I'm still trying to find what I feel is the best way to do that. And it may be very similar to what my videos are on YouTube for a start, for version 1 of the class. And then going forward, it may be expanding on that theme. So I guess that's where I'm at on that. But the idea does seem interesting to me, and it's something that I'm going to be exploring as we go through 2021, and see if it comes to anything this year. But anyways, we're at 12:25 right now. Anything else you had, Chris, or anybody else that might be watching? If you want to jump into the chat towards the end of this, I'm open to any friendly discussions and suggestions for future topics and things of that nature. And we'll see about incorporating those into future videos, or talking about things in future live streams. And so let this go for another couple of minutes, and then we will wrap it up for today. And there I am back on screen. So about blocking social media, for example, what we can do. Well, I mean, there are a number of things you can do. Usually it's going to be, for most places, it's going to be firewall configuration. If you're talking a home network, you could use something like a Pi-hole to block out social media. There are there are parental blocking or parental type applications where you can block sites that way. You can do it via DNS, which is not going to be bulletproof in any way. It really depends on whether this is a home network, a business network. Also, where are you located? What sort of legal restrictions do you have for putting something like this in place, if any? So yes, Open DNS that Chris mentions would be an option. There are also things like NX Filter, which you can either run that on your own network, or you can purchase the hosted version of that, which from my understanding is pretty similar to OpenDNS in a lot of ways. And yes, there's always the host file, which beyond a handful of machines can get interesting to manage. But if you're using under 10 machines, it's not going to be a huge undertaking. It's still going to take some time, but it's not going to be a huge amount of time. So let's see. Let's see. So throw this up on the screen again. So NX filter. So that's freely available for non-commercial usage. Built by a guy in Korea. So you get one list free with the free version, and there are other lists for blocking and filtering that are paid. So that's an option as well. I forget what their hosted version of NX Filter is called. It seems like it was called something different. Is it NX Cloud? Maybe it's NX Cloud. NX Cloud is basically a modified NX filter. You can install and run NX Cloud in the same way as NX filter. Unlike NX filter, after you install it, you can't use it as your DNS server right away because NX Cloud is multi-tenancy program for commercial service. You're not supposed to use it for your internal network. So yeah, there are options: NX Cloud, NX Filter, OpenDNS. There's always Pi-hole. If you're running a pfSense firewall, there's PF Blocker. OpenDNS would be the easiest to implement and free. Good idea there. For large business, go with Umbrella, which is the commercial version. I didn't know about NX Filter. Interesting. I actually have a video on NX Filter. So let me grab the link for that, and I'll dump it right in the chat. So see if I can't get the link to that. So this was a video I did last year, and here's my link to my video on NX Filter. So yeah, hopefully that will at least get you a start towards getting around the problem, any problem you might be having it now. So, all right. Glad to catch you on the tail end. Not sure if it's Rami or Rami. Hopefully I'm not butchering your name too badly. So I'm hoping, one of the things I'm hoping to do for next week is I now have 2 YubiKeys. The one that I've still got, well, I've opened the package, but it's still sitting in the packaging, is the YubiKey 5 NFC. So now that I've got a pair of YubiKeys, I'm hoping to get that integrated into my overall security system here, and you know, I'm also switching from LastPass to Bitwarden for a password manager. So I'll likely be talking about that more in a week or two when I have completed more of the conversion and have started taking LastPass out of my workflow. So I'm interested to see how this works out. Yeah, the YubiKey 5 NFC is great because cell phones, pretty much all cell phones now have near field communication built in. So the new YubiKey will go on my key ring. The other YubiKey, which will also be paired with all of my stuff, will be kept in a safe place, so that if I ever lose one of my key ring, then I'm not up the proverbial creek without a paddle. And yeah, hopefully things will progress from there. So on that note, I need to see about getting out of here because I've got people blowing up my phone. So thanks for coming out, everybody. If you haven't done so already, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. And we do this every week, 11 a.m. Eastern on Sundays. And just watch for the notifications, and I will see you next week. And hopefully there will be a video or two coming out this week before that. So yeah. So I actually have the paid version of LastPass, Chris, but I don't know. I've watched the price triple from the time I first subscribed to it. I got in at $12 a year, and now it's $36 a year. So I'm just kind of testing out the waters with other solutions. And Bitwarden has come highly recommended from several people. So I'm going to give that a try out, or I'm going to give that a try. And if it doesn't work with my workflow, I've got LastPass until October, so I can always go back. So on that note, thank you all again for coming out, and I will see you next week. Have a great day, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.